Hello. Good afternoon, my loyal viewers. Hopefully somebody pops in the chat so they can give me feedback about my audio, because the current little meter in OBS is, it looks like it's peaking really bad. But hello and welcome to my new stream. Thoughts on Fiction, good to see you, bud. Neozoic, how's it going, bud? Audio's fine. Good to hear. Really glad that you guys popped in so quickly. I do want to say, guys, I've had a hell of a busy day today, so if I come off as being a bit tired and exhausted, it's probably because I am, but I'm still gonna try to inject as much energy into the stream as possible. But yeah, my life's been kind of through a roller coaster over the past couple of months. Trying to think about how to talk about it. So I guess I'll kind of start from kind of the end of last year. So last November, I lost my job. I think I posted about this as a channel update, but I was let go from my job. I was unemployed for a bit. Thankfully, I was able to keep all my bills paid because I had a pretty good amount of money saved up. But it was a public transport job, so it paid really well. So I was able to save up a hell of a large amount to keep myself afloat. But I've been unemployed for a little bit, and I'm just now getting back into one of my old jobs that actually accepted me back. While I'm doing that, new person just joined, Just Some Geek Guy. Hey, how's it going, man? I'm glad you could join. I've been following your channel since middle school in 2014. Holy crap. I appreciate your loyalty and you sticking with me. That means a lot. It always really impresses me when I get comments like that. I've been following your channel since I was in middle school in the early 2010s. You know, stuff like that, it touches me a lot. Thank you. That means a lot. Anyways, what I was saying was that, so I got let go from my job. I just got accepted back into one of my old jobs. And what I'm currently doing now is that I am training to be an airplane pilot. I just recently enrolled in a local flight school, and I've been going to pilot classes about 3 days every week. In fact, I have a class tomorrow at like 1 o'clock. But it's a lot of stuff to have to learn. Oh, my cat wants to join. I'm sure you all have seen my cat in previous streams, but she likes to get on my chair and also get in my lap. Thank you, Neozoic. That means a lot. But thank you. Yeah, she's a very sweet cat. But yeah, The pilot class, I'm probably going to be doing that for a couple years at the most. Because, I mean, flying a plane, it's a hell of a big responsibility. So, I need some kind of job to kind of establish myself with. I need something to, I need some big financial cushion, I need a future. So that's kind of my attempt to do something like that. But I was running around today. I was trying to get a physical done. I've also been trying to print out some bit of paperwork, fax this, apply for that. There's a lot of bullshit and a lot of crap you have to go through, a lot of processes you have to just deal with and subject yourself to, and you need a break from it sometimes, It's a gigantic pain in the ass. But man, I really love flying a plane. It's almost like it's almost like a different world up there, And at first it's kind of terrifying because you realize that the only thing kind of separating you from plummeting to your death is this small little bitty metal and glass canopy. But I mean, I've been able to focus and, not think so much about that. It's like learning to drive a car for the first time. So, if I can not overcome very many obstacles, if I can just... Fuck. I'm stumbling over my words here. You sound like Hal Jordan before he became a Green Lantern. I'm not going to be suicidal and do any of the crazy shit that Hal Jordan was doing. Brightest day, blackest night, all that shit. Glad you found something you enjoy. Yeah, thanks, man. And plus, I like traveling. I don't get to travel a whole lot because traveling costs a shit ton. Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone. I mean, I'm not flying fighter jets. I'm just flying little bitty, propeller planes. Dude, I don't think I have the balls for fighter jets. I don't think I do. But yeah, this physical evaluation I did, I'm a bit worried because I have 2 prescription medications and the Federal Avionics, the Federal Aviation Administration, apparently they don't like pilots taking medication. So I'm hoping I can get some type of special exception made. So, keeping my fingers crossed about that. I'm hoping for the absolute best. But yeah, that's basically the long and short of what's happening in my life now. Spare time, I've just been shooting around some ideas for new videos. Guess I should get to that topic for right now. I've actually been making multiple videos. I got a new movie video coming out. It's not going to be very long, but there's 2 others that I've got going on at the same time, and they're both audio narrations. I felt like doing another audio narration. I decided to do two of them at once because I had a lot of fun doing that one for the Thing short story. The Things. I had a lot of fun, kind of creating an atmosphere. Finding sound effects, kind of trying to learn the best time to include like background music and all that. I love that stuff. I love audio dramas and audiobooks that kind of go to that level of effort. So I want to just kind of toy around and make more stuff like that. So how's everybody in my chat been? Been a while since I've seen all you guys. I hope everything's going well for all of you. Ooh, I think you should attempt a Conan audiobook, not just because you like him, but you have a manly voice fitting of Conan's world. Yeah, thank you, man. I was definitely sort of teetering around actually narrating a Conan story. God, the thing about doing a Conan narration is that, man, I love so many of the stories. I'm trying to figure out which one I would actually do. I think like the main one that comes to my mind is Tower of the Elephant, because that's my favorite story with the character. But another thing too is trying to figure out a voice for Conan himself. Because I don't want to do something that's derivative of Arnold's Austrian accent, but I also don't want to make like some just random. I don't want to make like some sort of random generic like American sounding accent either. I think one thing about Arnold's portrayal that I don't think really gets enough credit is that the fact that when Arnold first got the role, he wasn't even completely fluent in the English language. I think it helped him a lot, because him having that strange exotic accent, it made Conan seem more authentic to that world, It made him seem more barbaric too. The fact that you had a thick sort of central Western European accent as well. You could listen to him and you could envision him as like a guy from some far off barbarian society. And I wouldn't want to take that away. I don't really like the idea of just having a Conan that just talks like a modern day fucking, I don't know, California person. I wouldn't want a Conan to have like a modern day American dialect, I guess. I think that's kind of the biggest hurdle for me doing any Conan stories. I don't know what type of I don't know what my Conan would sound like. But thank you. I get a lot of people telling me that, I have a good voice for like radio. So thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Good luck on your upcoming videos. Speaking of airplanes, what is your favorite film, show, or other media that involves airplanes? All right. I think that the movie Airplane, the comedy movie with Leslie Nielsen, that's probably one of my favorite comedy films of all time. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. Oh God, what are some other good lines from that movie? Oh yeah, I remember the pilot talking to the young kid. Uh, Billy, you like movies about gladiators? Billy, you ever seen a grown man naked? it's, it's the most awkward, creepy shit ever. Also, funny thing about that movie, the male lead in Airplane, not Leslie Nielsen, the younger guy. I think that actor's name is Robert Hayes. That one joke where he's sitting in the seat and he keeps telling people like his Vietnam War stories and they keep killing themselves. I actually discovered while making my adventure video that one of those people was James Hong, the Japanese, the World War II Japanese soldier guy who commits seppuku. That was James Hong. That was Lo Pan from Big Trouble in Little China. I thought that was a cool little appearance. Yeah, Airplane's a great movie. I like that one Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner, where he's in the airplane and it's in the middle of a storm and there's a gremlin on one of the wings. I also like the remade version of that from the 80s Twilight Zone movie that had John Lithgow. That was a really cool story with an airplane in it. Top Gun, of course. Top Gun's a classic. Top Gun Maverick was really good too. Definitely one of the better modern like movie sequels. Maybe a gruff, stoic, and serious toned voice. Yeah, I mean, I think Conan, it has to be, gruff and, seasoned. And it has to be like the voice of a guy who's seen and been through a lot. But it's also got to have that unrefined sort of savagery to it as well. I think Conan with his, thick Austrian accent and his sort of loose, Arnold with his, his loose grasp of English, his thick Austrian accent. I think his performance really struck that balance. Like he doesn't. I feel like Arnold wasn't given that much dialogue in the original film. I think the few lines that he did have, I thought they were delivered very, very well. That iconic speech of his, Crom. Fuck, how did it go? Crom, I have never prayed to you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Valor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one final request. Grant me revenge! And if you do not listen, then to hell with you! I knew I had that speech memorized, committed to memory. Took me a little while to push it out. Speaking of travel, opinions on Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days and its many film adaptations. I haven't read Around the World in 80 Days since probably I was in 4th grade or something. I remember really enjoying it when I was younger. I haven't read a whole lot of Jules Verne's books, sadly. I've read that. I've read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, obviously. Because I knew about it. because I was inspired to read it after seeing the Disney movie, which I love. Journey to the Center of the Earth. That's the other one I've read. I think that's about it, though. I haven't seen any of the film adaptations of Around the World in 80 Days, though. I love that film. It's funny as hell. Yeah, everybody gets in line to beat up the frightened passenger woman is my favorite gag. Yeah. Oh, another underrated joke from that movie is one with build-up where, like, you see all these obnoxious, like, hippie protesters at the airport, and they show up constantly throughout the movie, and then Robert Stack's character, the air marshal guy who helps Robert Hayes fly the plane, he just shows up to the airport and he just kicks all their asses. He just randomly just beats the shit out of them. He pulls out some karate moves on them. That was so random, but it's so funny at the same time. And also, the blow-up doll flying the plane, too. That's a classic. Thoughts on Lamberto Bava and Dario Argento's 1985 film Demons? Love it. One of the most bizarre, nonsensical horror movies that has ever been made. But I love it all the same. It is... Demons is... God. I think Demons is one of those films that I think about 80% of the script writing process involved something of an avalanche of nose candy. Because it felt like that film had no rules and no internal consistency at all. Because, it's just like... So these people, they get invited to this movie theater to see this movie premiere. They somehow get trapped inside the movie theater because, like, these thousands of layers of bricks just randomly appear. Oh, yeah. The movie also establishes that, when a person gets scratched by, like, this supernatural silver mask thing, they become a demon, which is basically like a zombie. And people who get scratched, they become demons. And then all of a sudden, this one chick turns into a demon, and then she gives birth to a baby demon from her back. That scene always just perplexes me. It's like, where the fuck did that come from? So it's like, okay, we want to take a break from ripping off, like, zombie movies and just have a moment to rip off Alien, I guess. God, that scene just it just leaves me so confused because it's like, was that character pregnant? It's like, why did she birth a little baby demon whenever she mutated? I don't know. I do love the movie, though. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's also got just one of the most absurd but just amazing, just super badass, fucking sick final action sequences ever. Because you have a guy on a dirt bike riding through this auditorium with all these fucking demons running around. He's got a katana. He's just slicing them into pieces while he's on his fucking dirt bike. And the soundtrack is playing heavy metal. It's like, it's an Accept song, I think. God, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. It's so absurd, though. But yeah, I love Demons. It's not a movie you should watch if you value like strong writing and coherent plot whatsoever, but it's a blast. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Let's see. I remember hearing Kenneth Branagh was hired to direct a Gargoyles film. Good fit or not? Hmm. You know, if it was like early to mid '90s Kenneth Branagh, I think that would be awesome. I think Kenneth Branagh made some pretty sweet films in the '90s. I actually really like his Frankenstein film. Um, I also really liked his version of Hamlet. That was also from like the mid '90s. Modern day Kenneth Branagh, not so much. Not so much. Besides Suspiria, what are your thoughts on Argento's other Mother films, Inferno and Mother of Tears? I've seen Inferno. I liked it. I didn't love it. But the last time I saw Inferno was like a bunch of years ago. I need to rewatch it. Mother of Tears, I've not seen. I heard it was really, really crappy. Which, to be fair, Dario Argento has kind of fallen from grace in the 21st century. I've seen a few films he's done. He made a film called Giallo, which I thought was just kind of lame and crappy. He made a Dracula film with Rutger Hauer, which was just hilariously awful. Oh my god. Like, God, that Dracula film he made, it was like on par with something like Birdemic. Like, dude, it was so horrifically just directed. It looked like it was shot on like something worse than video. The sound design was terrible. The visual effects were terrible. It's like it's unrecognizable from what you would typically expect from Argento. A video suggestion I still think you should attempt is people's inability to relate to certain characters due to service level characteristics. Yeah, see, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because one idea for a video I have been sort of hawking around is a video talking about this idea of like faux diversity. I'm of the opinion that I don't think diversity is required for quality storytelling. I don't. I think that there have been countless movies, comics, books that have had no diversity whatsoever, but they still manage to be masterpieces, So this modern day narrative that Hollywood and like modern day like left-leaning college culture is trying to force on people that you need diversity to tell good stories, it's bullshit, dude. Seven Samurai. Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. There's no diversity in that film. All the characters are fucking Japanese. Does that make it bad? No. No, it's still a masterpiece. 12 Angry Men, that's another one. All the characters are white men. Reservoir Dogs. That's another movie. All the characters are white. Well, okay, that's not. Almost all the characters in that movie are white men. The guy who hires Tim Roth, like his partner, his cop partner was a black guy. I remember that now, but like the vast majority of the characters in Reservoir Dogs are white men. Like that's just an undeniable truth. What else? Lord of the Rings. That's another story. In the book and the movie, pretty much all the characters are ethnically white. Even the so-called elves and dwarves. You know, they're depicted as having, white skin. I mean, Tolkien describes all the elves in Middle-earth as being fair. As fair as, like, the light of Valinor. So that kind of discounts the notion that there could ever be ethnically black elves. And also the fact that the dwarves were all made to be underground dwellers. That kind of also discounts the notion that there could ever be any ethnically black dwarves as well. I've gotten into this argument with people to where, like, who cares if there's black elves and black dwarves? No, dude. It's kind of like, what if I made, like, a movie about, say, Mesoamerican gods, and I just made all of them white, That's kind of the same shit they did with Lord of the Rings with Rings of Power, dude. Lord of the Rings is an inextricably ethnically European story. Okay? I think every culture, it has stories like that. For the Middle East and like Mesopotamia, the Middle East, you have like the 1001 Arabian Nights. For Asia, you've got Journey to the West and like Romance of the Three Kingdoms and shit like that. For Africa, you have the various, like, African myths. Like the Egyptian myths as well. The Egyptian myths also, they kind of bleed over into several other types of African myths. Greece has its own pretty rich, famous mythology. It's just that when people do adaptations of anywhere that's not European folklore, there's no mandate for it to be diverse. I find that to be kind of retarded and I find that to be kind of retarded and hypocritical. But yeah, that's definitely a topic that I've been kicking around and I've been wanting to actually make a video about, like maybe some type of video essay or something like that. Let's see. I didn't mean to go on a big tangent like that. Sorry if I kind of deviated too much from that topic. But yeah, I mean, you asked about being able to relate to certain characters. Yeah, I think that if you can't relate to characters because you don't share a phenotype or a sexual chromosome makeup with them, I feel like that's kind of an issue with you. Now, look, I'm not saying that there shouldn't ever be, diverse casts of characters in any story across time. I'm just saying we really need to drop this notion that it's absolutely required. I think that writers and filmmakers should include diverse sets of characters if they want to. I think that it should be something that they are inspired to do, as opposed to being mandated to do. All right, sorry, Neozoic. I've skipped out on a bunch of your comments. Let's see. Opinions on the visual novel genre. The only visual novel I've actually played is Ace Attorney. I've played the first 3 Ace Attorney games. I fucking love them. I think they're incredible. I think they have some of the best like writing of any series of video games I've ever played. Other than those, I don't really have much of any experience with visual novels. Ace Attorney is amazing though. I'm open to just about any genre of video games, you know, as long as they appeal to me in some way. Thoughts on the upcoming paleontology nature documentary Surviving Earth, which will come out June 4th on NBC and Peacock. Produced by Tim Haynes, the same guy who made the original Walking with Dinosaurs. Oh, okay. That could be interesting. What exactly Surviving Earth? What is that documentary going to be about? Is it about like Earth in the modern day or something like that? Kratos is the god of war, but I relate to his feelings of regret, and I'm just a 27-year-old who's nothing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think you don't need to be 100% similar to a character to relate to aspects of them. It's going to be about extinct animals and mass extinction events. Okay, that could be interesting. So it's gonna discuss the various extinction events that have happened on the Earth. That could be very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Thank you for suggesting that to me. Also, I wanted to say that I'm glad. Was it Neozoic who asked me about Oh yeah, Neozoic. I'm glad you asked me about horror films because I've been thinking about doing another big list of top 20 horror films. Thing is, if I tackle another project of that size and length, I'm probably going to try to get help for it. Because, dude, that adventure video took me over a whole ass year, dude. I'd rather not spend that long on every single project of mine. People find Iron Man unrelatable, but I find him an equally human character as Spider-Man. Yeah, I mean, Iron Man's plagued with the demon of alcohol. There's definitely lots of people who can relate to that. That was kind of one of the things that made Marvel sort of a golden goose for a bit. Is that they kind of marketed their characters as having, you know, normal, everyday flaws. Yeah, I was thinking about Doing a top 20 horror movie list. I was also thinking about doing an action film list. So, opinions on Wallace and Gromit. Man, the last time I watched Wallace and Gromit, I think I was a really young kid. I haven't watched it as an adult lately. Although I appreciate the artistry that went into it. You know, I have nothing but respect for stop motion and claymation and all of its various forms. I kind of miss it too. I think the most recent claymation piece of media I can remember is that one really shitty Seth Rogen Christmas film he made. Can't even remember what it was called. It kind of bummed me out that, you know, you put all this effort into animating what's essentially just another shitty, crass modern comedy. I'm sorry if I'm a bit scatterbrained, guys. Like I said, it's been a really exhausting day. I haven't had much time today just to stop and breathe and relax. So, favorite stop motion claymation films. Ooh. That's a tough one. I feel like I would be beating a dead horse talking about Harryhausen films since, you know, I glazed Harryhausen so much in my top 20 adventure films video, but, you know. You know what? I might not do. I'll give Harryhausen a break. I'm gonna pick a stop motion film that has nothing to do with Harryhausen or like Willis O'Brien. Oh, I just thought of one. There's a film that came out a couple years ago called Mad God. It was directed by Phil Tippett, who I'm sure all of you know who Phil Tippett is. You know, he was the animator on, you know, the original Star Wars films. He did the dragon from Dragonheart. He also like designed the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, and also Draco from Dragonheart. Also the Ed 209 from RoboCop. He made a film called Mad God that I was blown away by. Absolutely love Mad God. That might be my favorite. It might be one of my favorite animated films like of the century so far. So like in recent memory, I would say that's one of my favorite stop motion films for certain. If you haven't seen Mad God, it's not really a plot heavy film. It's more of an experience. Like it's more of an atmosphere and vibe type of film. It's not really telling a story as it is just kind of a complete atmosphere sort of art piece. But yeah, Mad God was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. The villain of the Batman Part 2 is Two-Face? Really? Again? It's kind of disappointing. I mean, I'm not. I mean, look, I love Two-Face. He's one of the best DC villains out there, but if it was me, I would have gone for a villain who hasn't been done yet. That's just me, though. Like, I would have gone for Hush, personally, because, I mean, the last film, they hinted towards Hush. I mean, there's literally like this montage. I think there's this montage where like the Riddler is giving like this long expository speech about towards Batman, and you see like this little old film reel of Elliot Memorial, and there's like a little newspaper clipping that has the word "Hush" written on it. I'm like, dude, you couldn't make it more obvious. Like, I thought Hush was going to be like a major focus of these new movies. I want to see that. I think Hush would be an amazing cinematic villain to have. I mean, Two-Face has been done. Granted, I mean, we had Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever, who was basically just a carbon copy of the Joker. Then you had Aaron Eckhart in The Dark Knight, who was really good, although his Two-Face just got unceremoniously just killed off. I'm not gonna whine and bitch about it too much. I mean, maybe they might do something unique with the character. Sorry, my phone just went off. Whew. Alright. Question. Besides Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man, do you think Wolverine and or the X-Men would fit in the Mount Rushmore of comic book superheroes due to popularity, mainstream media, etc.? I think when it comes to superhero teams, the X-Men would definitely be on that metaphorical Mount Rushmore, yeah. Maybe Wolverine himself? I mean, Wolverine has had some pretty stellar comic book runs, I won't lie. I do think that the Wolverine limited series from the early 80s, the one that Frank Miller drew, is probably one of the best four-part comic series that's ever been written and drawn. Honestly, like that Wolverine miniseries is just I mean, it's damn close to being a perfect comic. Absolutely love it. I could, if someone were to include Wolverine in a top 4, top 5 of their favorite characters, I would not be opposed to it. Yeah, Sebastian Stan will be Two-Face. I think he could probably pull it off. It seems like Sebastian Stan is kind of a versatile actor. I'm glad he doesn't get typecast. Did you prefer the X-Men to be in their own universe or be part of the Marvel Universe? The reason I ask is because the X-Men have a huge roster of heroes, villains, supporting characters. Honestly, it doesn't really make a huge difference to me one way or the other. I will say the X-Men and their entire supporting cast and all the lore around them are definitely substantial enough that they could be their own universe for sure. I don't think it creates a whole lot of issues though when they, share the same universe as the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and Spider-Man, though. A common argument I hear, though, is is that it's silly for there to be bigotry against mutants, but people will have nothing but support towards, Captain America or Thor. And I'm like, no. Actually, I think that makes perfect sense. I think double standards like that exist in real life all the time. And I would also say that the bigotry towards the mutants is not exactly unique. I mean, Spider-Man's a character who's had to deal with a really terrible public reputation. There's a lot of people who express prejudice towards him. The same goes for Daredevil too. I think any hero, whether they're a mutant or not, that kind of has their identities concealed, people tend to assume the worst of them. I would also point out the Hulk. The Hulk has to deal with a lot of prejudice and a lot of presumptions from people. Yeah, exactly. Same goes for the Hulk. And a lot of people, they like to presume shit about the Hulk. They like to judge the Hulk before they actually know him. They kind of just dismiss him as just being an out-of-control monster or an animal that just needs to be put down. I mean, that's why he's constantly got the military gunning for him. My overall point is I'm in favor of either or. I wouldn't mind the X-Men being in their own separate universe. I don't think it would take a whole lot away from the greater Marvel universe, though. Or maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I think if we're strictly talking about the Marvel universe on Earth, I think they're kind of interchangeable. But if we're talking about Marvel on a cosmic scale, you got to take into account things like the Phoenix Force and the Shi'ar, and their relationship with the Kree and the Skrulls. Because I think when you have things like the Brood and like the Phalanx and the Shi'ar and all the interactions they've had with the X-Men, these are alien factions that also interact with all the other moving parts of the Marvel universe too. I think that question gets a bit complicated when you actually look at Marvel in terms of the wider universe and cosmology and stuff like that. Opinions on the Swamp Thing 1982 film. Yeah, the Wes Craven one. I enjoy it. I think it's a fun monster movie. I prefer the version where Adrienne Barbeau gets topless, for obvious reasons. I will say, I think the effects they use for Swamp Thing are pretty good. Like, honestly, it's not a bad visual portrayal of the character at all. It's not exactly a faithful representation of the Alan Moore Swamp Thing comics, because I think the reason that movie was made is because Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run was, it was kind of trailblazing in the comic shops at the time. I don't mind X-Men and Marvel as long as some less important characters get gutted. That's probably going to be a hot take. Really? What characters would those be? I'm not calling you out or anything. I'm just curious what characters you think should be gutted, as you put it. Opinions on the trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day. It looks like they're trying to do a bunch of shit at once. Kind of looks like they're trying to incorporate way too many plot lines at the same time. Also, the thing where Peter is like waking up in gigantic web cocoons. Are they trying to adapt the story where Peter mutates into a giant man-spider hybrid? Is that what they're going for? That's what I was thinking was the direction that they were headed in. Also, I didn't like the fact that you only see Scorpion for like one shot. Just thinking, isn't he the main antagonist of the film? Why do we only get him for one shot? I don't know. I think the visual style looks kind of neat. It looks a bit more gritty and urban kind of compared to a lot of the other Marvel movies. So I think the movie looks cool visually. I've not read the Brand New Day comic storyline, so I kind of have the feeling it's going to be nothing at all like that. I think it's probably just going to take the title of that comic and have nothing else about it, kind of like Age of Ultron did. Let's see. These are the X-Men heroes I would keep. The original 5, Claremont's team, Gambit and Rogue, Kitty Pryde, Cable and Bishop. Due to their connection to Days of Future Past and the character Apocalypse. Okay. What characters would you get rid of, though? Opinions on some recent films. K-pop Demon Hunters. I've not seen it. Sinners. Wasn't a huge fan. I thought it was kind of overrated. It was super boring and slow-paced. F1 with Brad Pitt. I've not seen it. I'm sorry, man. A recent film that came out that I did see and I did really like is Project Hail Mary, a new sci-fi film with Ryan Gosling. That movie was pretty damn good. I like it a lot. I recommend it. Very, very good film. Gives me just a little bit of hope for modern day Hollywood. Just a little. All right. My cat's meowing. There we go. Villains are a different category. Okay. Do you prefer knights or samurai or both? Honestly, I like them both just about equally. I think maybe, though, I might lean towards knights because I feel like there are way too many pieces of media meant to just completely subvert the idea of medieval folklore. So I think we kind of need more legitimately sincere, straightforward movies about knights and, medieval warriors, that aren't super political and not just super preachy and subversive. I do love samurais, though. I'm a huge, huge samurai cinema fan. But I would like to see more films and TV shows that actually portray knights in a good light. That new Game of Thrones spin-off show, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, I watched all of that. I liked it a lot. I think that's definitely a good foundation to kind of build off of. Classmates are saying good things about Project Hail Mary. Now that you're saying positive things, hey, yeah, man, check it out. Honestly, it makes you kind of yearn for the days where actually intelligently written films were not as rare as they are now. Another thing about that film that really impressed me was the music. Dude, I can't remember the last time I saw a film from this decade that actually had a memorable musical score. Project Hail Mary's got one. There were some really great musical moments in it. It also didn't overuse like licensed songs either. I feel like ever since I feel like ever since the Guardians of the Galaxy movies got super popular, like every single trailer has had to have some licensed song just shoehorned in, and a bunch of films just had to have, popular licensed songs on the soundtrack. It just got really annoying after a while. It's like, what happened to the art of making original scores, dude? Do you think the Dark Knight trilogy is partially to blame for starting the whole let's make everything realistic and grounded? Yeah, it definitely made that a very popular thing for a while. I'm going to be honest, I think the whole realistic and grounded thing, I don't think it became as pervasive as people like to say it did. I think what's become even more pervasive and even more obnoxious is everything trying to replicate the visual atmosphere and the tone of Marvel. Because like I was saying before, ever since the Guardians of the Galaxy films came out, a shit ton of films a bunch of films are just throwing a bunch of old like 70s and 80s pop songs into their soundtracks, even when they don't belong. And they're also trying to achieve that same extremely obnoxious, self-aware, jokey, quippy tone to its dialogue as well. I think Marvel is way more. I think it's become way more pernicious and way more harmful to media now than I think Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy has. Also, if we're talking about long-running TV shows, I would blame another piece of media for kind of making all that shit homogenous, which is Game of Thrones. I feel like ever since Game of Thrones debuted, every single TV show has felt like it's had to have like an insanely, excessively huge cast of characters. And it's had to have like all these super boring like political talks and speeches and like plots that move at a snail's pace, and also a lot of excessive edginess, like lots of out of place swearing and profanity and like over the top violence and sex and shit. That's how it appears to me anyway. I've seen way too many shows just over the years just trying to imitate Game of Thrones. It's more than worn out its welcome, if I'm being completely honest. Let's see. Did you think the Dark... Oh, sorry, I read that already. I miss when Marvel was serious and could deal with shit like Iron Man's drinking problems or the death of Gwen Stacy. Funny, Marvel is a dead horse now. I feel like in the movies, they didn't really explore Tony's alcoholism all that deeply. I feel like the most you ever saw of it was it was in Iron Man 2 whenever, Tony was throwing that party and he was super hammered and he got into a fight with Rhodey. But I mean, it doesn't really come up again after that. And then in Iron Man 3, they kind of threw the alcoholism away just to make Tony deal with like super inconsistent PTSD. Wait. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know Marvel had just kind of thrown Tony's alcoholism to the wayside, even in the comics. Yeah, that does suck. That is sad. The death of Gwen Stacy. I feel like the death of Gwen Stacy is kind of tainted by the knowledge that Norman Osborn would kind of just force himself on Gwen Stacy and spawn new kids that would become new goblins. God, that I don't know who wrote that story. They needed to be punched in the face, dude. It's funny that Project Hail Mary is written by Drew Goddard, who wrote The Martian. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Project Hail Mary, it was based on a book written by the same guy who wrote The Martian. Yeah, Andy Weir. I need to get around to actually reading his books. I've been putting that off. I've been listening to a bunch of other stuff. True, since the MCU changes a lot of characters, such as Star-Lord, who was a serious character before James Gunn changed him into being more of a comedy character. Yeah, that's true. Also, I also remember Star-Lord in the comics was like this highly respected, like super capable, like badass leader too. Like if you look at how he's written in like the Annihilation Conquest storyline, and then you look at him in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie and pretty much all other media afterward, it's like a night and day difference. Like, dude, Peter Quill in like Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest, he was a badass. He was this really charismatic, really capable friggin' leader. He was like he's kind of like a John Connor type figure, which is kind of ironic since Annihilation Conquest, the main villain of that story is Ultron. And the characters all rise up against him and kind of his robot army, so you could kind of view Annihilation Conquest as sort of being like a cosmic sort of Terminator story. I put more fault on Whedon than Gunn since he came first and did the same thing. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Although, to be frank, I I don't know why Joss Whedon, in his Marvel movie phase, decided to flirt so much with comedy, because I've seen a few episodes of Buffy. I watched a few episodes of Buffy. I watched all of Firefly with my dad. And I even read some of the comics that Joss Whedon wrote. Like, he wrote a bunch of issues of Astonishing X-Men. All of these things, there was comedy and comic relief, but it was nowhere near as prevalent as they were in his Avengers films. I mean, Buffy had moments of like levity. Same with Firefly. Firefly had, moments of like lighthearted humor and levity, but like when both of these shows, when it was time to get serious, they got serious. They didn't seek to disrupt that tone at all. Same with his Astonishing X-Men run. It was fairly tonally consistent. I don't know why Whedon just decided he wanted to be a fucking comedian with the first Avengers film in Age of Ultron. I mean, he also wrote, I believe he wrote the first draft of the fourth Alien movie too, Alien Resurrection, but I mean, according to him, they just raped his original screenplay and just turned it into something that was unrecognizable to what he even wrote to begin with. So, I mean, my overall point is Joss Whedon, he used to have, a good sense of tone. He used to, be able to read the room of the story he was telling and write accordingly. I just don't know why he forgot about it when he did Age of Ultron. Do you think the Marvel Cinematic Universe ruined Marvel Comics, or what other answers did you have? No. I don't think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is to blame, really. I think what's really to blame is the insistence of Marvel to have, this brand synergy. I have no idea why there was this obsession with making the comics match the films and shows that were being released. I guess the argument would be, oh, well, people who go into comic shops are going to be confused as to why the characters in the comics don't match the movies. I'm like, well, that's kind of their problem, isn't it? I think these people should be smart enough to realize that movies and comics are two very different things. You can't have a movie be a one-to-one recreation of a comic. The two things, they are two completely different formats of storytelling. So they need to make sacrifices and compromises to tell their stories, even if they draw from the same source. I don't know why new comic book readers need to be handheld through that. I mean, we don't tell people like picking up books the same shit. Like somebody really likes, I don't know, like somebody really likes the Harry Potter or the Lord of the Rings franchise. They go into a bookstore, they pick up the books. I think most of them are going to have the sense to realize, oh yeah, there's probably going to be a few things that are different than what I saw on the screen. So yeah, this whole brand synergy thing is fucking cancer. I hate it. I think it's stupid and retarded. Opinions on the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. I am a huge Gundam fan. I like it very much. In fact, I wouldn't mind doing a video on Gundam at some point. As it happens, I've actually gotten into building Gundam models myself. I have a whole shelf of them over there. I need to get up out of my chair so I can adjust the webcam. So give me just a second. Yeah, this is a shelf of Gundam models that I've actually built. So yeah, I'm a pretty big Gundam fan. I like mecha anime in general, honestly. Pretty cool, huh? These are all from Gundam Wing 2. That's probably one of my favorite series. Yeah, let me just... So yes, I very much like Mobile Suit Gundam. Alright. Let me get my setup back. I'm going to go turn that lamp on. Turn it off because that lamp is super bright and it overexposes my webcam. So I will be right back. All right. Yeah, Mobile Suit Gundam is pretty sweet. I also like Macross too. Macross, or Robotech as it's also called. Yeah, as I was saying, I wouldn't mind doing a video about like certain Gundam shows or movies at some point. There was a theatrical showing actually of Gundam Wing Endless Waltz this past December. My roommate and I, we went and saw it. It was like a double showing. They showed that and also an Iron Blooded Orphans movie. It was like an anniversary event. I had a really great time with that. You know, both movies were fucking just great. Also, like Endless Waltz is it's one of those anime from the 90s, you know, with that really just awesome epic like hand cell drawn like quality to it that I just love. Let's see, would you rather have the MCU reboot or the Star Wars EU get revived by a different company? I think I would prefer the latter. I would actually like to see a different company that is not modern-day Lucasfilm actually acquire the rights to make new EU stories. Preferably one that is comprised of former EU authors, you know, guys like Timothy Zahn, you know, Drew Karpyshyn, James Luceno, the guy who wrote Darth Plagueis. I would definitely love to see the EU continue in the hands of capable storytellers, not the current Lucasfilm leadership. Do you think also why manga is doing so well, beside good writing and other reasons, because of not doing the whole brand synergy, since a lot of animes based on manga follow the source material? Well, I don't think yeah, I think it's also that, and I feel like the brand synergy is kind of only a thing with like major tentpole like Hollywood productions. You know, I think that anime adaptations of manga, they don't bring in the same number of, viewers as, a big a big budget theatrical Marvel film, right? So I mean, maybe that's probably why, the corporate leadership at Marvel is so obsessed with the whole brand synergy thing. That's just a guess, though. It could be. It also could be a cultural thing. Maybe Japan just is smart enough not to buy into that horse shit. I don't know. I mean, it could be that the publishing houses in Japan that publish all these manga series, they kind of have enough faith in their readers for them to realize, hey, anime is its own thing, manga is its own manga is also its own thing. They are two different things. They're their own two different entities. I mean, yeah, a lot of animes do follow their mangas pretty close. Not all of them do, though. There are some that do deviate. Um, I think one of the Fist of the North Star, Fist of the North Star movie from the '80s, it left a lot of characters out that were in the manga and the anime series. Now that I think about it, let's see, what's another one? I think a lot of the Devilman anime adaptations, they also leave out certain characters and certain events too. Oh, Akira. That movie was based on a manga, and it was very different. The manga was better. I'm just gonna straight up say the manga, Akira, the source material, that manga is a masterpiece. I read every single page of Akira in like a week. Like, the story was that compelling. It was that good. Absolutely blew me away. I've never liked the movie. I'm just going to be I'm going to be straight up honest about that. I never liked the film version of Akira. It was it's very disjointed. The pacing's a fucking mess. The storytelling is a mess. There's no coherent narrative thread at all. And it's all because they're trying to cram a 2,000 page manga into a 2-hour film. It's an absolute fucking mess, dude. Not a fan of Akira. Oh, Ghost in the Shell, that's another film based on a manga. I'm talking about the original animated 90s one that Mamoru Oshii did. I'm not talking about not the live action one. That film deviated from the manga a lot too. But I think it worked. I think it worked really well, actually. I think a big baseline reason, though. I think manga and anime have always had kind of a big edge over Western media, to be completely honest. Probably because I think it's probably because manga and anime they kind of planted these big contrasting seeds many decades ago. Because you got to think, anime kind of blew up in like the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. That was really when it just sprouted into this fucking juggernaut, dude. Because you got to think, in the 80s, you had films like Fist of the North Star, Akira, Wicked City. You had all these like direct to video anime films, that kind of accrued these big cult followings. And then in the 90s, you had stuff like Ninja Scroll, you had Ghost in the Shell, you had movies like Jinro, you had the Studio Ghibli films, you had all these sort of secular anime films that were making the rounds in these festivals, and they were growing in popularity due to word of mouth. And then you had like sort of syndicated anime shows on TV that just blew up even bigger in popularity. Shit like Pokemon, shit like Dragon Ball Z. All these shows differed hugely from Western cartoons, kind of in tone and, in storytelling. And in overall maturity. It's just always been that way. It's always been seen as like this super adult, contrasting, ethereal sort of form of storytelling and fiction. That's always sort of symbolically been at odds with Western American media. And I think it's especially resonating now because we definitely live in an age where there's a lot of Western media that does nothing but preach and fucking proselytize to you and beat you over the head. And anime, for the most part, anime doesn't do that. So that's definitely a big point in its favor. Although I don't think anime is really impervious to the woke poisoning of culture either, because you've got all these insanely agenda-driven, like, localizing studios that completely malform the Japanese translations of certain shows and even video games. So it's kind of encouraging some people to just learn Japanese and just completely forego bothering with localizations and mainstream translation entities altogether. Anyways, that was a really long fucking answer to that question, but I think that's generally why anime and manga tend to do better overall. Favorite Chuck Norris film? Rest in peace. Oh yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. I respect Chuck Norris a lot. I respect his accomplishments as a martial artist. And I respect, all the humanitarian stuff he did a lot as well. That being said, I was never a huge fan of him as an actor or as an action movie star. I found him to be very, very boring as a lead actor. I'm going to be completely brutally honest. That being said, there were a couple of films of his I really enjoyed. I think Invasion USA is a very enjoyable film. It wasn't really because of Chuck Norris, though. Chuck Norris was not a good actor. let's just be honest. People watch Chuck Norris's movies because they want to see him kick people's asses. They want to see him do the cool like roundhouse kicks and the neat flashy karate shit. They didn't watch it for his dramatic abilities. Let's just be completely honest here. No disrespect to the guy as a person, though. I just didn't think he was a... Shit, hang on. No disrespect to Chuck Norris, like on a personal level, but the guy wasn't a good actor. He just wasn't. I do think he made film history, though, when he fought Bruce Lee in Way of the Dragon. I do think that's one of the most iconic and just all-time greatest hand-to-hand fight scenes in all film. Just straight up. But yeah, rest in peace, Chuck Norris. I had a feeling when I heard that he was being rushed to hospital that, oh yeah, he's what, 80, he was 86? Yeah, may be his time. May very well be his time. Actually, while I'm on that topic, I want to say rest in peace Rob Reiner as well. It's really fucked up what happened to Rob Reiner. He and his wife didn't deserve that. I feel really bad for their daughter, too. That's a really fucked up, horrible, ugly situation for her to be stuck in. I didn't care much for Rob Reiner, though, personally, but I still don't think it's okay what happened to him. That's fucked. I'm genuinely sorry for his family and his surviving relatives. And he also directed films that were really good. Films like The Princess Bride, Stand By Me, and Misery, and This Is Spinal Tap. So, yeah, rest in peace to Rob Reiner as well. Why do you like Kyle Katarn? I asked this question due to Chuck Norris passing, and he's the Chuck Norris of Star Wars. Yeah, that is what a lot of fans sort of consider him to be, yeah. I like Kyle Katarn because he's got one of the most well-defined arcs of any Star Wars character, honestly. I mean, he starts out being just a regular rank-and-file Imperial trooper, and then he goes from being that to being a rebel spy, and being a rebel saboteur, to being a Jedi, to eventually being a Jedi Master. I mean, not only that, but he also kind of undoes probably one of the most disturbing things that's ever been done in the Star Wars expanded universe, which I don't really want to spoil for those of you who haven't read the Darth Bane books, but there's a very big lore connection between one of Kyle Katarn's adventures and one of the main pivotal moments in the Darth Bane book trilogy. But it's there. I don't want to spoil what it is, but it's kind of one of those magical things that the Star Wars expanded universe was known for, which was how all the lore just sort of branched and connected into each other in really unique, inventive ways. So that's the reason I like Kyle Katarn. That, and he's just a really fucking cool character. He's also got a really badass spaceship. He's got one of the coolest fucking starships of any character in that universe. Like, damn. You thought the Millennium Falcon was cool. Kyle Katarn's ship, the Raven's Claw, I think it's called. Just absolutely sick-ass design. Love it. I'm also speaking from a place of bias because the Star Wars Jedi Knight games, those are some of the first Star Wars games I think I ever played. They were basically my introduction to the expanded like Star Wars universe. Wasn't Akira a manga that wasn't finished when the film came out? Yeah, it wasn't finished, but that's not an excuse for the movie being the way it was. I think if you wanted to do the manga justice, you probably should have had like at least 2 or 3 movies. I think that Katsuhiro Otomo, he could have very easily just he could have made a movie out of like maybe the first quarter of the manga. And then he could have written the rest of the manga, had it done, and he could have made the film adaptations. He could have made like 2 or 3 more films. He could have had a nice trilogy or a 4-part film series that adapted the manga faithfully. But that didn't happen, sadly. Then again, I'm in the absolute minority when it comes to Akira, the movie, because the movie is like, it's at the top of everyone's like top 10 anime films. So I'm kind of the odd one out when it comes to the Akira movie. Don't know if you heard about this. Yeah, I heard that Super Sentai was being ended. That's a shame, dude. Although I heard that oh god. What's the company that makes Super Sentai? Fuck. Was it Toei? I think it was Toei, yeah. I heard they're going to be making a whole new tokusatsu series in place of Super Sentai. Honestly, I think Super Sentai had a really impressive run. 50 uninterrupted years. 50 uninterrupted years. That's impressive. You know, maybe Toei just needed a break. That's honestly pretty astonishing. As far as like what's going to be happening on the Power Rangers side of things, I don't know how that's going to fare for Saban. But I hope more tokusatsu stuff keeps coming out, because tokusatsu is awesome. I love watching it, love talking about it. We're getting a whole new series of Godzilla films too. That's pretty sweet. I'm going to keep going for about 15 more minutes, guys. I think it's been a pretty good stream so far. I heard it's going to be a new entry for Space Sheriff Gavan. That sounds fucking wild. Space Sheriff Gavan. Is that like a Western tokusatsu series? That sounds awesome. I need to check that out. Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity. Yeah, about 10 more minutes, guys. Opinions on the 1999 Mummy film. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about, the Brendan Fraser one. That series of Mummy movies, I think they're fun. I don't love them the way that other people do, but they're fun, decent adventure films. Although when it comes to mummy films, I really just prefer the original 30s film with Boris Karloff. I heard there's actually a new mummy film that was being made that's actually going to be more horror focused. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what that one's going to be like. I think that's cool as hell. I'm looking forward to seeing that mummy film. Could be good. It could also be really shitty because honestly, A24 that's a film studio that's really hit or miss. Yeah, the Brendan Fraser mummy films they're good. They're good, fun adventure movies. Would the '90s mummy films be a good source of reference? Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Nothing wrong with that. Did you prefer Skull Island to be an island with non-avian dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals? Yeah, honestly, yeah. I like Skull Island to be populated with dinosaurs and like prehistoric animals for sure. I think Skull Island is more unique when it's like an island out of time. Of course, that's personal bias speaking because that's that's the version I grew up with. You know, I grew up with the original King Kong. I also grew up watching the Peter Jackson one. I think I was about I think I was like I was 12 years old when the Peter Jackson one came out, and it left a big mark on me. I actually have the art book that Weta Workshop made for the 2005 version of Kong. You know, it goes into the lore of that specific version of Skull Island and all the different animals that populate it. I love it. I love learning about all that stuff. I think it's really freaking cool. But yeah, that original 30s version of Skull Island 2 is also just one of the most vivid and it's one of the most vivid and just well made like fictional worlds of its time, honestly. Yeah. The version of King Kong that's in the version of Skull Island that's in the MonsterVerse, I just thought it was kind of boring. You know, big ass snakes that Kong fights. Yeah, I wasn't really feeling it. You know what's funny? The version of Skull Island that was from the 2017 Kong Skull Island movie, it reminded me a lot of the 70s King Kong remake. I don't know if that's just me. That's kind of the vibe it had going on. It had kind of I distinctly remember the Skull Island from the 70s version sort of being very it kind of had more of that Southeast Asian sort of aesthetic and feel to it, which is what the Kong Skull Island movie was also going for. It was going very much for like a sort of 70s, like gritty Vietnam, like Apocalypse Now type feeling to it. I think that could be cool in its own right. I just prefer like the sort of Lost World esque Skull Island. What is your favorite, least favorite version of King Kong, as in Kong himself? I think my least favorite version of Kong has got to be from, let's see, I think it's got to be from King Kong Escapes, the the Toho produced film King Kong Escapes. I just don't like that movie in general. Favorite version, honestly, it might be a bit sacrilegious, but I think my favorite version of Kong himself is probably from the Peter Jackson one. No, I mean, no disrespect to the original, Willis O'Brien version, but I like the Andy Serkis version of Kong more. That's just me, though, personally. I like that visual design for Kong a little bit more, too. Let's see. Yeah. Do you have any Star Wars videos planned? Really love your passion for Star Wars. Yeah, you know what? I might do some videos about the expanded universe. I just really hope that I'm a bit reticent to do anything related to Star Wars, though, because man, I don't want to have Disney striking any of my videos for copyright. I'm honestly astonished I made my adventure film video and was able to get away with doing an entry about fucking Indiana Jones without having fucking Disney copyright bots strike it down. But yeah, if I were to do Star Wars videos, I would probably do something pertaining to the expanded universe for sure. I heard the reason that the 1970 version, the 1976 version of King Kong didn't have non-avian dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals is due to them wanting to focus more on the relationship between Kong and... Okay. I mean, it could also be... It's also likely because of the limited budget that they had, too. Crap. It could also very likely be because of a limited budget. They probably didn't want to spend the money on, stop motion animation. And also, they might have done tests for like having dinosaurs as like actors in suits, and it probably just didn't look very good either. One thing I will give the 70s version of King Kong, I think the animatronic work and the suit for Kong was insanely well done. I thought Rick Baker really knocked it out of the park with the effects for that movie. It was very impressive practical effects work. What is your least favorite version of Godzilla? There is an easy answer to that question. I would have to say the animated Hanna-Barbera version of Godzilla. I think that version of Godzilla is fucking stupid and retarded. I don't like the Hanna-Barbera version at all. To be completely honest with you, I feel like the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla is less like Godzilla than even the American TriStar version. Because, I mean, dude, the the cartoon version of Godzilla doesn't even have the freaking roar. I mean, the cartoon version of Godzilla, the roar, it's just Frank Weller going. It's like, how could they? How is it that they could afford the name Godzilla, but they couldn't afford the actual sound effects, the actual like sound clip of his roar? That just mystifies me. Look, even the American TriStar version, they actually had the roar, albeit it was altered quite a bit. But you could hear the famous Godzilla roar from that version, and also the fact that he shoots lasers out of his eyes. What is he, fucking Kryptonian? Why does he not have his atomic breath? Not a big fan of the animated 70s version of Godzilla. Yeah. Yeah. I'm about to wrap it up in a couple minutes, guys. But look, thoughts on fiction, Neozoic. I'm really glad you guys managed to make it to the stream. Thank you for your questions and your attendance. I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna skim over the comments, see if there's any more questions I didn't answer. But those audiobooks that I'm working on and that new video project, I'm gonna try to have all of those up sometime soon. But I'm just trying to manage my time, not be overwhelmed as much. Glad that you're back on your feet. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm back on my feet too. I hope this thing with the pilot school doesn't fall through. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So I hope you guys just wish me luck with that. At least with the 1998 Godzilla later got atomic breath in its animated series. Yep, that's very true. Anyways, thank you guys for your support. I think I'm just gonna bring it to a stop here. Hope you guys have a good night. Oh, we got one last question. I'll answer it. Opinions on the 1978 Superman film. I do love it. I do love that film a lot. I recall that you disliked that portrayal of Lex Luthor. No, I've softened up on Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor a lot. Yeah, he's very much based on the pre-crisis sort of mad scientist version of Luthor for sure. But yeah, I love Superman 1 and Superman 2. I think those are some of the finest comic book films that have ever been made, without question. Not the least of which is due to John Williams' phenomenal score for both films. Absolutely. Yeah, 7:53. I'm going to bring it to a stop here, guys. But you guys take care. I'm going to keep in contact. I'm going to keep posting on the channel with updates. Take care, Waller, Fiction, Geeky Guy, the rest. Peace out. Yep, stay safe. Right on, man. Everybody have a good one. I'm about to just cut it right here. Later, guys.